Okay. Hi, Professor Ram. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Yes. How about
How is
you?
it over there in UAE?
Oh, it's a very nice climate right now. People won't believe me. It's 15 degrees in the night and maximum 24 degrees in the day. Very pleasant. But it will become bad in about 6, 7 weeks' time. But right now, it's one of the best places to live.
Okay. How long have you been
Really
there?
nice. It's about 6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
Okay.
No, I've
So,
been here for from September 2023.
okay, fair enough. Sir, before starting the conversation right forward, I would like to introduce you to this one particular ritual that we have at IIM MBA. So, whoever guest comes to the podcast, I ask them to introduce themselves, or rather, not introduce, but how do they see themselves as a person to the audience. So, I would request you to tell us that how do you see yourself?
Okay. I was born in Madurai in South India, in Tamil Nadu, um, and I'm 57 years old. And most of my early studies were in Madurai until my completed my BE in mechanical engineering. Then I moved on to Chennai, Indian Institute of Technology, Madras at the time, for doing my MTech as well as PhD. I my PhD work was primarily in the area of business and management using operations research methodologies, and probably I was the first to talk about um, the triple pillars of sustainability. I'm talking about 32 years ago. Um, I was That was probably the first time people are talking about the use of all the three pillars: economic, environmental, and social pillars of sustainability in planning, business, and management. And then after I completed my PhD, I moved on to Mumbai for a brief while, maybe about 8 years. Yeah, I was part of the Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research in Goregaon, Mumbai, one of the premier economics institutions set up by the Reserve Bank of India. I was there for about 8 years there, teaching energy economics, operations research, simulation, environmental economics, and those allied subjects. Very nice experience. Then I moved on to, I wanted to move to a business school, so I moved on to Muscat, University of the Sultan Qaboos University in Muscat, where I was working in their business school. Then moved on to the UK, spent about 18 to 19 years in the UK in various universities, starting with Nottingham University, and then working briefly in Bournemouth University and briefly in the University of Bedfordshire, not briefly, in the University of Bedfordshire nearly about 9 years, and then the University of Essex before I decided maybe I should move towards my home, which is India, and I just now moved to Sharjah, which probably gives me the benefits of uh, both UK and India in a single place. So I think that's a summary about me. In terms of my professional, I believe that this is going to be broadcast primarily for IIM graduates, IIM aspirants. In terms of my experience in my professional circle, I have published extensively in the area of environment, economics, sustainability, operations management, and also operations research. Um, so I'm credited with producing a new methodology, operations research methodology called DEAHP. People know DEA, people know AHP. So I tried to combine both the ideas, and I developed a new methodology called DEAHP. And then more recently, I was part of multiple research projects where I was trying to understand the potential of big data. I think 10 years ago, it was more about big data. Then came the Internet of Things. Right now, it is more artificial intelligence. So those kind of modern technologies, how those technologies can be useful, not only in businesses. People, there are business champions who put in lots and lots of money um, to tap the benefit, to develop a new innovative solutions, tap the benefit of these new technologies for their own business. But my having spent some time in understanding how big data and Internet of Things, etc., were used in multiple businesses, I was very concerned that while these technologies do have huge potential, nobody is there to
Mhm.
champion the use of these
Yeah,
technologies for social causes, for the benefit of the
exactly.
society, because there is no single champion. Now, if you're talking about a business, there is obviously somebody in the business who will take the idea forward. But if you're talking about social benefits, there is no option. So one of some of my recent projects are primarily aimed at trying to find out how we can use these new technologies for the benefit of the society, for social causes. And one of my latest projects, called the REAMIT project, which we will be talking in greater detail now, is about the use of these technologies to support reduction of food waste. That's one. But apart from that, we have also been working on the use of robotics in improving farming operations. And more recently, we were working in the idea of the future flight technologies in supporting business ecosystem development.
Okay, that's interesting. Talking about REAMIT, robotics in farming, and other stuff that you're working on right now. I would like to dive deeper onto the REAMIT part for now. So, to start with, sir, give us just about what exactly the REAMIT project is. What does it stand for? What is the agenda, and how do you plan to achieve it on a sustainable level?
Yeah. The REAMIT project is about the use of the big data and Internet of Things technologies in supporting food companies reduce waste in their supply chains. Okay, the term REAMIT, the term REAMIT stands for, I don't know whether I'll fully remember it right now. REAMIT stands for um, improving resource efficiency of agribusiness supply chains by minimizing waste using Internet of Things and big data technologies. So I just
Okay.
used some special capital letters in some places and then made the word REAMIT. As you will see in one of our initial videos on the project, the REAMIT came through removing some certain words from the phrase "we dream it." If you remove WED, the remaining part, remit. That's the idea behind REAMIT. We dream
Okay.
it. Okay. Um, what
Yeah.
happens is that um, throughout the world, food waste is a very serious problem. Okay, and
Okay.
there are easy solutions to reduce food waste. And the most important issue with food waste is that it has huge environmental implications. I don't know whether you or the viewers know about it or not. If we characterize food waste alone as a separate country, food waste that is being produced across the globe as a separate country, it will be responsible for the third most important cause for greenhouse gases. Okay, after China and after the US, no other country will stand close to the amount of greenhouse gases being emitted through food waste. The thing is, if you waste food, when it rots, it emits methane, and it's a very serious greenhouse gas. And so, food waste wasting food not only causes economic issues, but it also causes environmental, very huge environmental issues, also social issues. If you don't waste food and if you share it with those that need, then lots of crime and other issues can be avoided. So, food waste is one single strategy that will help us to achieve multiple goals, not only of the businesses but also of the society. So that's the starting point for understanding how the REAMIT project.
Okay, so I would like to simplify things more and dive deeper into the basics of this project. So, how did this idea came to you? So, was there an idea already and you started building upon it, or did you see any problem which was
Uh,
being
it's very
faced by
interesting that
some
you're asking
individual?
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is very interesting that you're asking this. I like this question. You know, these ideas don't come immediately, and
yeah.
nobody can dream of some interesting, you know, promising ideas immediately. We started, I think, in the year 2010 or so, that when the idea of big data started getting into the academic literature, we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see what big data is about. What is the hype around big data? Now, you may not remember this because you may be too young to know more about this. By 2010, what is artificial intelligence or what is generative AI now is the same as what was big data at the time. So people were talking about the potentials of big data. They were very excited about what it can do, what wonders it can do, and how people are able to handle such huge volumes of data and so on. That hype is no more existing. Now the hype moved on to in between Internet of Things, and then now more into AI and generative AI right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we really wanted to. I was in the UK, working with a number of businesses, for different research projects. So we decided to find out what many companies are doing, how what is the so-called big data hype, and how companies are being using this kind of idea. So we looked at the retail sector, found out, we went to visited, we conducted interviews with a few companies, top-notch companies in the UK, and then we
Yeah.
went on to do another project on logistics companies, tried to understand how companies are doing using big data. So that was the genesis of these ideas. We were quite, I was personally quite, I'll say, excited to see how many companies are able to find different innovative ways for using big data in their businesses. Now, even if you take small companies like, a daily courier that does business with, for example, Rolls Royce, they seem to find very interesting ways of using big data. Okay. But what we found after about 5 years of doing more research into that area, what we found is that there is absolutely nobody talking about the use of big data in the society, for societal causes. That was one big concern for me. Then, of course, as we got to know more about big data, we also got into the idea of Internet of Things. Then I think the promise of big data became multifold once people understood that Internet of Things, the sensors connected to the internet can send huge amount of data on a regular basis um, that will just change our initial idea of big data. Now,
Mm-hmm.
earlier big data, we were thinking that big data was generated by our phones, people using multiple phones, which was big enough data in 2010s. But then when
Yeah.
Internet of Things joined that revolution, the amount of data being produced is, I think, increased at least about 1 million times. So, huge, that much a level of big data came into being. Then, we really wanted to find out how could we use this IoT and big data for social causes, and through several videos, I was aware of the problem of big the food waste. So my thinking was, is there anything that we could do to reduce food waste using these developments?
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, nobody thought about these ideas. The blockchain, everything, including blockchain, nobody thought about this idea. But then
Yeah.
we looked at what people are doing in across the world for reducing food waste. They were using only more, you know, soft skills. People thought that most food waste occurs only at the household level, and
Mm-hmm.
by changing the behavior of people at the household, they said they thought that they could make a big difference, which is perfectly correct. If you look at the total amount of food waste that you you think about food waste that is happening across the world, nearly
Mm-hmm.
50% of the waste is occurring at the household level.
Oh,
You
okay.
and I are responsible for huge amount of food waste. I think especially in developed setting, when they have huge fridges at their home, it's easy for them to buy good quality food products from supermarkets every week and then stock it in their fridge, only to forget
Mm-hmm.
after about 1 week or 10 days and find that the product is now a waste and then throw it away. And you may think that this is a small portion, but if you combine what each and every individual is doing, it is a huge amount. I'll tell you, the problem of food waste was taken very seriously by the EU, um, uh, but the problem of food waste is much more serious in India and in UAE. But they are not taking, neither India nor UAE are currently taking that much of interest in reducing food waste.
Okay.
So luckily, EU was very committed to reducing food waste, and
Mm-hmm.
they were offering huge amount of money for newer ways of helping the society to reduce food waste and so on. Then we thought, obviously we could not go into the same stereotypical way of looking at the household part of food waste. So we wanted to find out. Obviously, at the household level, I don't think there is huge scope for using newer technology unless you use smartphone apps to keep pestering individual people, individual households. But then
Mm-hmm.
we also looked at the data, and there was a very interesting research carried out in the UK for the European context that proved that nearly 30% of food waste, out of the 100%, 50% is occurring at the household level, but
Mm-hmm.
then the 30, nearly 30% occurs at the supply chain level, which is my forte.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I say that people produce food either at the farms, you
Mm-hmm.
grow plants, or at the butchery, you slaughter animals and so on. Once you produce food, the food needs to be stored somewhere, then
Mm-hmm.
transported somewhere, maybe stored in multiple intermediate warehouses before the product goes to the final consumer or to the supermarket. So people found that somewhere in the supply chain, until from the farm gate until the product reaches the supermarket or the customer, that portion is basically the supply chains. And due to
Mm-hmm.
improper storage and improper handling of food, um, nearly 30% of food gets wasted. I'll tell you an interesting example. If a farmer packs 100 kilos of tomato
Mm-hmm.
from the farm gate and sends to a supermarket maybe about 3 hours away.
Yeah.
By the time it reaches the supermarket, okay,
Yes.
especially warmer climate, um, as much as 30 to 40 kilos of tomato gets wasted. By the time it reaches and the supermarket opens the truck, it will find that it will discard quite a few, and only about 60 kilos will be acceptable. But the worst thing here is that the farmer has already accepted that if he sends 100 kilo, if he or
Mm-hmm.
she sends 100 kilo, he will only get money for 60 kilo. So
60, 70 kilo. Yeah.
somehow he or she internalized the loss somewhere in between, and nobody is interested or even to accept that there is food waste. Okay, the good thing is
Okay.
the research in the UK by RAP, WRAP, is a charity. It has clearly demonstrated that there's as much as 30% food waste occurring it, primarily because of the temperature differential, humidity storage conditions, and also due to vibrations and the kind of handling issues. So this is something that we could manage using technology. Okay, we can basically find out how we could use. People are using refrigerated trucks for transportation or air conditioned
Mm-hmm.
storage houses for storage. But the thing is, things are not consistent. If the temperature at the farm gate is is 20 degrees, the
Yeah.
temperature is not maintained at the same level until it reaches. Sometimes it goes up to 30 on the road, for example. And if something happens to the refrigerated truck, and entire food gets wasted and so on. So huge amount of complexities in the transportation, in the supply chains, intermediate storage.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we wanted
Mm-hmm.
to tackle. We wanted to fit sensors, Internet of Things sensors, in the whole supply chain, in warehouses, in trucks or any other transportation media, and then we wanted to trace the quality of food. Okay, and that's the for REAMIT project is about. What we do is we advertise what we did. I have to say what we did, because the project has ended in July 2023. So what we did is we sent out invitations to several food businesses across Europe, and once there are good enthusiastic response to our work. We conducted a number of conferences, a lot of events to popularize the idea, and when a company comes to us expressing interest, we first conduct a kind of interview to find out what is their experience so far in terms of food waste in supply chains, not in the household level supply chains. um,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously nobody is going to accept immediately, but when you ask them to provide more account of what they have been doing and so on, you can easily find out at times they did have difficulty due to improper storage and handling and so on. Okay,
Yeah.
one food company clearly said that one night, one of their fridges, which is 1000
Mm-hmm.
ton fridge, one
Yeah.
fridge freezer, 1000 tons. Now food companies have such big ones, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they store 1000 tons worth of food in their freezers, but next day morning they come and open the freezer, malfunctioned, and 1000 ton of food became wasted. Okay, so there are
Oh.
examples, but you have to read between the lines to really extract these issues. It doesn't happen always. Maybe once in a year or once in 3 years or so, but it is a huge loss. Okay, and this is what we wanted to focus on, and we really received quite an enthusiastic response from companies, and we did run the project successfully. And thanks to our experience, we published a number of case studies based upon our work, and
Mm-hmm.
we published multiple, at least about 20 research papers so far. And we last month we published a book on this, so it has been a very successful project.
Okay. One question about the example that you gave of 100 kg of tomatoes. Is this the case in a cold supply chain?
It is. I'm talking about European case. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
developing countries, where they
Yeah.
don't have sometimes they don't have refrigerated trucks. I'm talking about cold storage. Now you say cold storage, you say refrigerated trucks, fine, but the
Mm-hmm.
temperature differential can easily cause problem. Okay, if the temperature
Mm-hmm.
outside is 20 degrees, most of these problems occur in summer in Europe. In winter it is extremely
Mm-hmm.
cold.
Yeah.
In summer, the outside temperature may be 20 degrees, and the inside temperature in inside fridges, and ideally speaking, for tomatoes to be good, uh, you need to maintain it between 5 to 12 degrees or something. So
Okay.
so the truck will have to maintain 5 to 12 degrees consistently
Yeah.
throughout the transport, but it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, when the truck is open, before it is sent into a warehouse, when you open the
Mm-hmm.
truck, people
Yeah.
open it for an extended period of time, and
Right.
the temperature drops very significantly. And by the time they take it inside and put it in a proper storage space, it takes maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because they don't move one by one. They have to put it somewhere in a pallet and then move it. It
Right. Right.
takes it lots of temperature fluctuations which affects the quality of the produce.
Okay, so as you said that the project has been completed now in July 2023, uh, what are the noticeable results that you found, and what are the improvements that you like vouch for?
Yeah, there are many examples of the benefits of using technology. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
original plan for which we started the project is that we will be able to track the temperature and humidity or lighting levels or vibration, whatever. So Internet of Things sensors come in multiple forms. Even a single sensor can sense multiple parameters and then take it. So we are measuring as many parameters as possible. Sometimes volatile or organic compounds, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So our original plan is that we will maintain complete visibility of the entire supply chain. Okay, so we want to make sure that if a pack of tomato needs to be maintained between 5 and 12 degrees centigrade, and we
Yeah.
will fit sensors across entire supply chain and make sure that the temperature is well within that acceptable range. Okay, and if for any reason, if the temperature goes above or below the previously set threshold, maybe in
Mm-hmm.
tomato it's about 5 to 12 degrees, but in
Mm-hmm.
frozen food it will be minus 18 to minus 22 degrees and so on. So
Okay.
we set the threshold, and if we use sensors to track if there is a cost for alarm that there is consistent increase in temperature or consistent reduction in temperature, we send out signals. Now we have REAMIT app. We send out smartphone alerts, and we make sure that a corrective action is taken as quickly as possible. Okay, that's the idea. What we originally thought has been achieved. Basically, we helped them. These are only demonstration projects. We are not able to roll it out on a large scale basis, but there are already companies who are taking up our idea and then championing this cause across Europe. So commercialization has already started. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one primary result, which I can confidently say that the chance of food waste occurring in the supply chains where we fit our sensors is very low, very low, extremely low. That's one. But there are also multiple benefits to the companies by fitting these sensors.
Fair enough. So, according to my understanding, this is an alarming mechanism rather than a maintenance mechanism. So, the sensors alarm the user first, and then they are in charge of maintaining the temperature in those trucks or in those warehouses, right?
Perfect. We are not going to do any change in the maintenance of the temperature control mechanism. We only
Yeah.
provide an alarm, and they will do. Whoever is responsible for maintaining the temperature system they will do it. It's simply alarming system, but the alarming system does wonders, because you don't know when a truck is malfunctioning unless you have a
Mm-hmm.
system that tracks the temperature recordings.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
did not exist
Yeah.
about 10 years ago. Now Internet of Things are so cheap, you can do it on a regular basis.
So, before coming to the question, do you see a mass application of this particular project across the globe, not just in Europe?
There is huge potential. There is very huge
Mm-hmm.
potential, but we did have some issues with large scale commercialization. Uh, Ideally
Okay.
speaking, by now we should have created multiple spin offs who will work commercially on this. There is a huge commercial potential for this project. But to me, the single most important issue with commercializing this kind of technologies is that food is still considered a very cheap resource. Okay,
Yeah.
food waste. I told you, food waste causes huge greenhouse gas emissions, etc., which is a very big, serious problem for the world. But it is a problem for the world, not for private businesses. Okay, for
Correct.
a company that produces tomatoes, out of 100 kilogram of tomatoes, maybe 20 kilogram going waste is not a big money. It's
Right.
not a big commercially. This is not very important. So, at an individual level, individual organizational, individual commercial company level, our project, though well accepted by the companies, do not make break-even sense. If they have to install huge amount of sensors in every truck and fit it and connect it to the cloud and doing all these things, is it will be it will need a bit of certain amount of investment. Costs are coming down, but still it's the total fixed cost will be very high. So compared to the amount of food waste they are going to save, the cost of installation is still huge. So at individual organizational private food company level, this is
Hmm.
not becoming a big hit. But what is becoming a big hit is that if there is a technology company that specializes this kind of sensors, connectivity, cloud connectivity, and then offers this benefit of following up with the temperatures regularly, and then making giving opportunities to reduce food waste on a subscription based model, there is going to
Hmm.
be a lot of value. This is what my partners are currently doing. They are doing a lot of efforts. I have people in the Netherlands, in Ireland, in the UK, who are already starting this kind of subscription based models for providing this a visibility of temperature, etc., across food supply chains, across specific food supply chains of firms. So it is becoming commercial hit, but there it requires a completely different business model. You can't expect individual businesses to fit um, to fit sensors in all their trucks and expect them to generate break even for the investment using the amount of food they are going to save. So yeah, at individual levels it's not making sense, but in a completely different subscription based technology company providing this facility as a subscription based service, yes, it is feasible. People are trying to do it. Already there are a few similar companies across Europe.
Yeah.
I'm aware of at least one very big company in France, very big fishing company in France, who has already commercialized, you know, use these ideas in their entire supply chains. They buy fish, fresh fish in France, Britannia, and then Brittany, and then transports it across multiple countries in Europe. And they have this system. They all their trucks are equipped with Internet of Things sensors and cloud connectivity. They are able to track the movement across 1,000 kilometers, 2,000 kilometers. So it is not far away to think that these technologies will be fruitful across the world, including India and the UAE, any other place. But it's a question of time. Now, it's not about profit. It's about the value of the food waste saved and
Yeah.
the value of greenhouse emissions avoided. We are not
Hmm.
focusing only on the private profit,
Yeah.
profit
Yeah.
to individual
Get it.
companies, because it's very difficult for us to find out how much individual companies save. It's about the social or societal benefit in terms of this. It's about how much of food waste saved across the Europe by using this and similar technologies, and by how much of carbon emissions avoided by doing it, and then converting it into in monetary terms. That's the idea. Um, I also have to add, I believe that you have already gone through the REAMIT website, the
Yeah.
www.reamit.eu. A
Hmm.
lot of information is available in the website. We are going to keep it alive for the next 4 or 5 years, and we will keep updating it on a regular basis. But I also have to add that we are not only working with the so-called traditional sensors, the temperature, humidity, lighting, vibration, those kind of sensors. But we are also using some newer technologies. One of very interesting new technology is so-called Raman spectroscopy. Um,
Okay.
I hope you remember our own Sir C.V. Raman, um,
Mm-hmm.
who invented, Raman effect and so on. And
Raman effect. Yeah.
a side effect of his work is Raman spectroscopy. He developed
Okay.
a methodology to, to analyze the gas chromatography, gas emissions coming out from perishable produce, and then understanding the, using the gas chromatography, understanding the nature of food and so on. So if you keep tracking the gas emissions coming out of food, understand use the Raman spectroscopy to analyze the structure of the gas emissions. A product
Mm-hmm.
that is going to become waste, they're closely becoming waste, will emit different kinds of gases. So you can easily track whether the product is going to be waste in the next 3 hours or no or so, using the gases emitted, which you can use Raman spectroscopy. Thanks to my name Ramanathan, people think that I'm also part of the Raman spectroscopy. So wherever I go, I get part of the credit for what the great Sir C.V. Raman did. And yeah, we also use that. We have a partner from France who use
Mm-hmm.
this technology, who have been using this technology. Now they
Yeah.
joined us, and usually the Raman spectroscopy spectrometer is huge, of the size of
Okay.
half of a normal room. Okay, if you can visualize the room that I'm in, Raman
Mm-hmm.
spectroscopy is probably take up half the size of the room. Maybe about five
Okay.
feet by 5 feet in
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
But the challenge was the REAMIT project provided money to these partners to make Raman spectroscopy instrument as a handheld instrument so that it can be taken in a truck. And we are successful in producing that handheld instrument for Raman spectroscopy. So that is also an interesting development from our side. These are futuristic technologies. These are probably industry 5.0 or even 6.0 technologies, who, in the next 10 years, they'll hold huge promise in reducing food waste. We have done our bit to improving in developing these kind of systems too. So that's another interesting work. There are huge amount of data analytics possibilities. People, if you think of Internet of Things sensors, what they send you a set of temperature data every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, or every half an hour, or whatever. So it's simply
Mm-hmm.
time series data. But the magic is
Okay.
these kind of time series data occurring across multiple spheres, across multiple places
Mm.
across space, and then in different contexts together can make magic. You can develop really good insights from this kind of data. And so we are
Yeah.
now into that stage of making sense of those kind of data using some artificial intelligence technologies to identify patterns of food waste, patterns of how food waste can be avoided in various parts of Europe and so on. So our new job is more about making sense of the data that we have been getting. Really huge data. I think we have about 15 companies using our technology. Each company may be using about 200 different sensors. Each sensor is sending one data point, multiple data points, temperatures,
Yeah.
humidity, vibration every 5 minutes. And they are doing it for the last 2 years. You see the amount of data that we are accumulating. Okay, so that's a truly big data. And challenge is making sense of that. One question, for example, my one frozen food manufacturer asked is, their fridges, they have huge fridges, their
Mm.
fridges, uh, uh, once a week, they go into each fridge goes into the so-called defrosting cycle. And during the defrosting cycle, the temperature is somewhat haphazard. Defrosting,
Mm.
during defrosting, the temperature control mechanism will not work perfectly, and they want to know when a particular fridge is undergoing defrosting cycle. By looking at the data, we are now trying to develop algorithms to help those kind of things. one important point. So I'm not looking at private small SMEs willing
Yeah.
to adopt this model immediately, but in the future, what I'm expecting is that that there will be two things happening. One is the the competitor effect, right? If more companies start using this kind of technologies, then other companies will follow suit. So as the
Hmm.
idea becomes more and more acceptable in the business, slowly people will adopt, and most likely there will be a time that when people will start thinking about using this technology in their business out of compulsion, no competitive compulsion than anything else.
Yeah.
One. Two, I'm not seeing a very interesting development that is going to be very far away in time. The thing is, people are already realizing the importance of reducing food waste. Now,
Hmm.
nowadays, I mean, as of now, um, governments are not taking any action for penalizing people in for wasting food.
Yeah.
Okay, so you remember about 50, 20 years ago, people did not even think of corporate social responsibility as a serious thing. But then there was a
Correct.
lot of environmental awareness, and now many big companies have started developing corporate social responsibility report explaining what kind of sustainability activities that they are doing and how they are performing over time and so on. So in the
Yeah.
same way, I am expecting, given the growing importance of food waste, I'm expecting that the governments institute some way of corporate food waste reporting as part of business reporting in the future. We already have one paper, and we have submitted a policy document to the UK government already on this. This food waste is a very simple, cheap way for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, by even with our simple project, seemingly
Hmm.
about 15 20 organizations, we were able to reduce about 40,000 tons of food waste, 40,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So it is, with relatively less investment, reducing food waste will help you reach your greenhouse gas targets quicker. So you're simply avoiding pushing of greenhouse gases by
Hmm.
not letting the food waste to become a food waste, now using it. So it's a win-win situation. Food is being consumed in the society and helps improves the economic well-being of people, societal well-being. At the same time, there is no pumping of gases into the atmosphere. So it's a very easy and cheap way of achieving some of the net zero targets. And we are making our efforts to let the governments know that these are very interesting options, cheap options, and hopefully people will start thinking, the policymakers will start thinking about food waste as a good policy instrument, and ensuring that everybody has their own responsibility in reducing food waste. If that happens, these technologies will be definitely important. We have, in
Okay.
fact, published an interesting operations research model with my
Yeah.
colleagues at IIT Kharagpur, and
Hmm.
I. We developed an operations research model. I'll say it's a linear programming model, where we looked at the trade-off between the cost and penalty cost of food waste, and
Yeah.
you know, we have shown this in a mathematical paper.
That's interesting. So that was about the project. Now, I wanted to know a few of your opinions on some things. So most of the people who are watching this episode right now are either MBA students or are aspiring MBA students, right? And they will be stepping into corporate really soon. So how do you see the philosophy of sustainability development goals? Because as you're working in the sustainability part of things, how do you see the philosophy of SDG in the world of management?
I think already sustainability and management are inseparable. If a
Hmm.
management is proactive, progressive, they must show evidence that they are caring for their environment. Okay, I teach to my undergraduate students regularly, saying that sustainability is no longer something that the company has a luxury of thinking. It is part of their day-to-day business strategy. Okay, it is one of the strategies for their long-term survival. Now we talk about stakeholder theory. If you don't satisfy all the important stakeholders of a company, the
Mm.
company will not be profitable anymore in the longer run. So I think already sustainability is mainstream in management, and I think there is no way managers can escape not thinking about sustainability. It is part and parcel, and it's all going to be more about what are the more innovative ways of ensuring that my business is sustainable and gains competitive edge correspondingly. So I don't think there is any choice in modern managers or modern aspiring students, management students,
Yeah.
of opting out of sustainability thinking.
So, coming towards the end of the podcast, I want you to give some advice to the future managers who will be stepping into the corporate really soon, from your domain or in general, whatever whatever you want the managers to know before entering the corporate.
Yeah, yeah. I think the most important term is that about responsibility. Be a responsible manager. Don't responsible in the sense that not only for your own business or your own personal behavior, but also for the environment, because nobody gains by underestimating the power of the environment. So
Yeah.
I'm not talking only of the physical environment, but also the businesses complex business environment as well. So you have to be really responsible for making sure that you consider the voices of everyone that is going to be a stakeholder in your decision, and you make a decision on behalf of a company. So responsibility, and of course social responsibility, sustainability, they're all part of this responsibility I'm talking about. So
Mhm.
responsible business is the key. Of course, staying ahead of business, innovation capability, developing innovative innovation capability is a very important one, because new problems arise and new technologies arise, and the most important thing is, don't look at problems, business problems and technologies separately. Try to find how some new problems in businesses can be solved with newer technologies. The world is constantly evolving. What was good and correct 50 years ago may be absurd now.
Yeah.
Even 10 years ago, what was good may not be meaningful now. So you have to constantly be on the lookout for what is best for the situation and keep working it. Why I'm saying is that in the same REAMIT context, when we started our business, when we started the project, we found that there are completely two distinct groups of businesses. One is food businesses
Yeah.
who will benefit by using technology, but did not know anything about what technology could do for their business. And we had technology businesses who were developing something innovative, very too complicated and too interesting, very successful, very promising, etc. They were beating their own drums, but
Mhm.
this did not go to this group at all. If
Yeah.
only somebody took time to understand what are the new developments in the technology side, and then translate it in a language that is useful for the businesses that will need it. I'm not saying that only food businesses will need it. Healthcare will need it. Manufacturing will need it. But it's all a question of making sure that as technologies keep developing, understand what promises it can bring to your business. Try to have an open mind and be open to test to newer solutions, and trying to make the world better with the help of technology. That's the idea.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. That was a very insightful and a very heavy conversation for anyone to digest. And definitely, people will be looking forward to the projects like REAMIT and will be researching more on this after watching this episode at least. So, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. It was a great,
Thank
great
you.
conversation.
Thank
I
you very
look
much.
forward to meeting sometime.
Sure, definitely. When I am in India, I will try to meet some of you sometime, somewhere in within India. Or you're welcome always to Sharjah. And I'll also be some in. I'll still retain my visiting position in the University of Essex in the UK. So I will visit them. So if you happen to come to the UK, Essex is not far away from London. So any of you, you're welcome to meet me sometime, especially in summer. Then I'll send you the website link and some additional materials that we have published. Most of them are in open access, so people can
Yeah.
read it. So you're welcome to share it to your viewers. Thank you.
Perfect. I'll be
Thank
sharing all the links in the description of this episode. And thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you. And I wish you and also the future and current students and future managers in India great success.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching till
Bye.
the end. I'll be catching you guys in the next one. And till the next one, keep learning, stay tuned, and peace out.
Thank you.